Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, where there's will, there's a way. This 400-year-old proverb applies to everyone, bar none. Since getting the required majority signatures for this representation to be able to report out on the floor your Blue Ribbon Committee's partial committee report on the flood control saga seemed doomed from the time we first routed the same last February 11, 2026. I am compelled to stand before you on a matter of personal and collective privilege, and for good reasons. As we speak, the country's heat index is at its peak, but the Filipinos' anger burns hotter. Gaano man katindi ang sikat ng araw, hindi nito matatabunan ang galit ng ating mga kababayan na nalulunod pa rin sa gitna ng kapabayaan at kasakiman sa salapi ng ilang tiwaling opisyal ng gobyerno. 10 ng kanilang mga kasapakat na kontratista dulot ng flood control scam. Sa Barangay Mercado, sa bayan ng Hagonoy, Bulacan, ang baha ay bahagi na ng buhay. Wala nang ginawa ang mga estudyanteng pumapasok sa eskwela, mga namamalakayang pumapalaot at manggagawang araw-araw kumakayod, kundi lumusong at maabala sa hindi masawatang baha. Sabi nga ng isang residente doon, kung pinag-aralan lamang ang pinaggagawa nila, hindi kami magdurusa tulad nito. Sawang-sawa na kami. Habang sila ay nakahiga sa kama, kami ay nakahiga sa tubig baha. Sa kasamaang palad, magpapatuloy pa rin ang siklo ng paglilimas, paglusong, at pagbubuwis ng buhay at kabuhayan ng mga taga-Barangay Mercado tuwing sasapit ang tag-ulan. Mr. President, Filipino families in more than 30 provinces with high and medium-high exposure to flooding across the country are sure to be flooded in months to come, at risk of losing their livelihoods and lives. Our country stands to lose about $89 billion between 2022 and 2050 due to floods and tropical storms. Again, as we speak, the Philippines remains at the top of the World Risk Index 2025 among 193 countries worldwide as the most disaster-prone country due to high exposure to floods, typhoons, and other natural hazards. These are only some of the reasons why I must speak today. Mr. President, while the partial committee report circulated to the committee members nearly 3 months ago remains pending for sponsorship, I cannot ignore the public's urgent demand for transparency regarding the flood control scandal. Therefore, as chairman of the Committee on Accountability and Public Officers and Investigations, I rise today to deliver the chairman's progress report. This progress report contains the findings of the partial report, which is grounded but not limited to the 7 exhaustive public hearings in aid of legislation conducted by your committee on what stands as the largest corruption scandal in Philippine history. This also touches on the proceedings of the 8th and latest hearing and on other key matters of urgent concern to the succeeding public inquiries. Again, for the record, the partial committee report was circulated on February 11, 2026 to the members of this committee for thorough study and consideration. As provided in our rules, Section 1, Article 5, Blue Ribbon Committee Rules, committee reports must be signed by a majority of the committee's members before they can be filed with the Bills and Index Division of the Senate. Given the scale of the investigation and the details of the discussion, which, as you all know, reached more than 400 pages, sans the annexes, each member has been afforded more than sufficient time to examine and scrutinize the full substance of the report. Everyone is given a full opportunity to review and propose revisions, modifications, deletions, and corrections. In line with Senate practice, we have provided an advanced portable document format or PDF copy to every office to allow our members to sufficient time for review. Common sense lang sa isa nating kasamahan na pilit naghahanap ng original signed copy at ginawa pang dahilan sa hindi niya pagpirma. It should be understood that the digital version serves as the formal notification of the report's contents, Mr. President. To date, almost 3 months have passed. Only 7, including the President, Chairperson, and the Senate President, have affixed our signatures to this draft. I therefore thank our colleagues, Senator Erwin Tulfo, our Vice Chairman, Senator Risa Ontiveros, Senator Bam Aquino, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, and the latest, Senator Rafi Tulfo, who have signed the partial report. And while I disagree with those who have not, let me state for the record, Mr. President, that I respect their decision, even as I understand whatever reasons they have for not signing. Bottom line, it is their right as senators of the Republic. Nonetheless, it bears heavy emphasis. Most of the findings of the partial committee report are no longer new, and first view, they have already been validated, if not overtaken, by current events. In fact, the report may be pending, or while the report may be pending, the wheels of justice have already begun to grind. And I take pride in saying, in line with the direction of our report. Mr. President, the Blue Ribbon Committee is a heavy cross to bear, where every move is scrutinized and every intention is questioned. But we shoulder on and forge ahead. In my more than 50 years of public service, I cannot recall experiencing a situation where I am in now, a zero-sum outcome, whichever path I trek in the crafting of the partial committee report. Never mind the trolls and critics who have been operating like clockwork. To them I say, I have built my career and my reputation over decades on a simple principle, that noise never overpowers duty, and intimidation never silences me. Set aside, if they must, the fact that I have spent my entire public service career refusing and resisting all forms of corruption, from rejecting bribes from illegal gambling operations and other unlawful activities during my law enforcement years, let alone the pork barrel system which plundered our nation and was later declared by the highest court as unconstitutional, not to mention my consistent rejection of lobby monies in as many instances related to certain pieces of legislation. Disregard, if they can, the decades I have spent in the trenches as a budget watchdog and a relentless buster of abuse of power. If my track record of integrity is to be ignored today, then let the evidence speak where my history is silenced by the critics and the trolls. In the course of drafting this report, my guidance to my staff was unequivocal, that we adopt a single standard in laying down the committee's findings. We go where the evidence leads us. Before we dive into the findings, let us be very clear in plain, simple terms. We are not here to indict, much less convict, or hand down a final judgment. Hindi po ito isang hatol. Rather, we're establishing a standard of clear indicia, as lawyers call it, to assist in whatever way we can the proper authorities who shall independently evaluate these findings, determine probable cause, and take the necessary legal actions. Halimbawa, sa kaso ng ating kasamahan na Senator Jingo Estrada, ay mayroong bagong development na naganap sa pamamagitan ng LBRMO na nagpahayag na hindi si Senator Jinggoy ang proponent base sa record ng mga proyektong una nang naiugnay sa kanya. Nonetheless, Mr. President, let me be uncompromising. In this long course of inquiry, the Filipino taxpayers are the complainant. Our duty to them is to answer three fundamental questions. Number one, where did the money go? Two, how was this corruption executed? And three, how do we fix the system so it never happens again? Mr. President, this all seems like deja vu. We have seen this before. The history of corruption in the Philippines reflects a cyclical process. It does not disappear when exposed. It adapts and mutates to survive. The flood control crisis is the reincarnation of the 2013 Priority Development Assistance Fund, or PDAF scam, but in a bolder scheme. It serves as a scathing indictment of the failure of our institutions to deter corrupt machinations. The enterprise remains unchanged in essence, similarly orchestrated by a cabal of officials led by legislators and their co-conspirators within the government and in the private sector, only with a diversified format and modus of thievery, timing, and language. Like floodwaters, these activities seep into institutions and areas of least resistance, flowing into and exploiting new channels where illicit rewards abound and oversight is weakest. Mula sa masilimuot na investigasyon, ilalatag ko ang synthesis ng findings ng komite sa 5 bahagi. Una, napatunayan sa mga pagdinig na ang problema sa baha ay hindi nag-ugat sa kakulangan ng pondo. Instead, the scale of funding coupled with weak internal controls and criminally complicit oversight made the sector an attractive target for systematic plunder of the public treasury, effectively leaving our citizens exposed to a deluge of misery. Ito ang nilalaman ng Part 1 ng ating findings. Second, the anatomy of this flood control anomaly is inherently parasitic, characterized by a network of actors spanning the highest levels of authority. Hence, Part 2 of the findings clearly laid out how the anatomy works. From utilizing an institutionalized workflow deeply entrenched within the bureaucracy, employing mechanisms so brazen and gross that they either compromise, recruit, and or bypass oversight. Third, ang flood control mess ay representasyon ng sukdulan at nakakarimarim na evolution of the pork barrel system. In this scheme, corruption takes different forms and names, from congressional slabs of pork, now euphemistically rebranded as allocables, leadership funds, and insertions, extending their reach even to the unprogrammed appropriations under the General Appropriations Act. Part 3 details the scheme's stark similarities to that of the pork barrel scam from language to operations. Fourth, the case of Bulacan 1st District Engineering Office serves as a microcosm of the systemic rot. It provides a blueprint of how flood control funds are diverted, revealing the interconnected systems that facilitate the corruption. Fifth, and finally, the dire consequences of this institutionalized plunder are not merely financial. They are felt in the structural erosion of our democratic institutions, the profound disenfranchisement of the Filipino people, and the tearing of the moral fiber of the country. Now we ask, where did the money go? Evidence on record shows how the flood control corruption scandal exposed a systemic, coordinated, multi-actor process. Isang malawakang sabwatan na ginawang gatasan ang mga proyekto para sa flood control. Ang pattern ng korupsyon ay systemic at parasitic, magkakaugnay mula sa mga aktor, mekanismo, at workflow. Who are the actors? In the course of the hearings, we have identified key actors who were implicated in the flood control anomalies and classified them into 8 groups. Ang partisipasyon ng mga aktor na ito ay hindi limitado sa isang grupo lamang. Sila ay maaaring gumalaw sa iba't ibang kapasidad, sabay-sabay o nagpapalit-palit, depende sa pangailangan ng kanilang operasyon. Nariyan ang mga proponents, mga opisyal ng gobyerno na kinikilalang quote-unquote may-ari ng proyekto at tumatanggap ng average na 15 to 30% na kickback. Mga bagmen or intermediaries, sinasabing authorized representatives and emissaries of the proponents, DPWH facilitators and coordinators, mga senior level officials who coordinated with proponents, facilitated the respective project proposals, accepted their demand for commitments and other activities related to the flood control anomaly process. DPWH Group, syndicate groups implementing the project tulad ng Bulacan First District Engineering Office at Oriental Mindoro District Engineering Office. Tinuturing ding active actors ang mga contractors. Sila ang namumudmod ng commitments o suhol sa mga proponents at iba't ibang grupo na kasabwat sa anomalya. Madalas, sila ay nagbibigay din ng advances bago pa man ma-award ang project. Hindi nga ba namangha tayong lahat, Mr. President, na matuklasan natin sa isang pagdinig ang pahayag ni Sally Santos ng Sims Construction na magkasunod siyang nag-withdraw noong Marso at Abril 2025 sa isang land bank branch sa Bulacan ng tig 457 million pesos na cash na kanyang binigay kay Bryce Hernandez at mga kasabwat nito sa First Bulacan District Engineering Office. Ang iba pang mga aktor ay kabilang sa executive branch, bankers at constitutional oversight group. These actors thrive in the vulnerability of our systems and institutions. Now, how was this corruption executed? Himay-himayin natin ang mga teknikal na paraan kung paano ninakaw ang pera ng bayan. These are specific mechanisms of corruption. Ang mga makinaryang ginamit para pabilisin ang pagnanakaw at pahinain ang ating sistema. Nariyan ang ugat ng problema, ang proponent system. Meron pang mandatory fixed percentage, commissions, kickbacks paid in cash, rigged bidding and favored suppliers at in-house contracting. Ilan lamang ito sa mga sistema ng flood control scam. This corrupt system exploited the very foundations of our fiscal governance through its institutionalized workflow, mula sa budget formulation at authorization, kung saan sinisimulan ang pagmamanipula, procurement and implementation, kung saan ang mga kontrata ay binibigay sa mga kasabwat na nakawan, hanggang sa oversight phase na kung saan nagmimistulang pikit mata sa katiwalian ang mga opisyal ng gobyerno na dapat ay sumusubaybay at nagmomonitor sa mga proyekto. This scheme exploited systemic and institutional weaknesses in budget formulation, authorization, implementation, and oversight. Testimonies and documents reveal that a wide range of public officials, from legislators to frontline officials, as well as private sector co-conspirators, were complicit in various ways, either by approving dubious projects, signing off on ghost projects, or failing to enforce and procurement and performance standards and accountability safeguards. Next, Mr. President, how do we fix the system so it never happens again? Ang pinakamahalagang bahagi ng report ng komite ay ang mga reforma sa sistema, batas at proseso sa pamamagitan ng legislative proposals. We focus on 2 pillars. First, budget-related proposals. Tanggalin ang anumang uri ng allocables and leadership funds na pinauso ng DPWH upang mapaghati-hatian ang pondo. This is a pork barrel incarnate and it clouds our fiscal transparency. We also suggest itemizing unprogrammed appropriations, strict compliance with the release of unprogrammed funds, and public disclosure of excess revenue certifications for the use and release of unprogrammed appropriations. Given the massive scale of controversies, particularly under the 2024 appropriations, we may also consider abolishing the unprogrammed funds altogether. We are also calling for the vertical and horizontal convergence of infrastructure planning across government agencies, both at the national and local levels, and crucially, enhanced public participation and legislative transparency. Second, our accountability and anti-corruption proposals. Primary to this is the amendment of Republic Act number 6770 or the Ombudsman Act of 1989, which includes A, creation of an anti-corruption law enforcement service in the Office of the Ombudsman and providing incentives and protection to whistleblowers. B, expanding the authority of the Ombudsman to deputize private lawyers as special investigators and prosecutors. And C, fiscal autonomy laws for the Office of the Ombudsman and the Commission on Audit. This is in line with the precedent of giving fiscal autonomy to the Supreme Court as provided under Republic Act 12233 or the Judiciary Fiscal Autonomy Act. We won't allow another fiscal intimidation faced by COA in 2020 when its appropriations were held hostage as for later release or FLR. For too long, our laws had more holes than a sieve. We are here to plug them. Ang ating sagot sa mga contractors, we will define beneficial ownership and conflict of interest so that no legislator can hide behind a corporate veil. We will also push for a law defining and penalizing the crime of infrastructure fraud and bid rigging in the award of public infrastructure contracts. We also propose authorizing the Ombudsman and the Secretary of Justice to issue whole departure orders for those involved in large-scale corruption. No more fleeing before justice is served. We likewise propose a strict prohibition and higher penalties against government employees gambling in casinos. Titiyakin natin na wala ng BGC boys na magwawaldas ng limpak na salapi para linisin o ilonder sa casino. As a measure of accountability, we will pass a law for the digitalization of SALEN and PDS and a law for the comprehensive whistleblower protection measure to strengthen oversight of government projects. On accountability, we observe that state auditors are physically based in the agencies they audit and receive substantial perks from those agencies such as office space, supplies, personnel, and cash gifts, among others. These arrangements create familiarity, which limits our state auditors' ability to conduct a legitimate audit and in many cases creates conflicts of interest. Hence, we are proposing a law that will facilitate and support the withdrawal of COA auditors and the recall to the Central Home Office from their auditee agencies to ensure independent and accountable reporting. We also propose a law to provide for a citizen's remedy and means for redress and compensation, similar to a taxpayer or a class action suit for citizens, group of citizens, or a community who may have been prejudiced or injured by defective, substandard, or inadequate public infrastructure. Mr. President, these legislative reforms seek to dismantle the very anatomy of the flood control scam, paralyzing corrupt actors, overhauling broken mechanisms, and severing the workflows that feed the systemic greed. Ito po sana ang legislative output ng komite na sa ngayon ay hindi pa natin mai-file. This is why we await our colleagues' signatures, a necessary step to move these reforms forward. Mr. President, in the proposed partial committee report, we recommended that several lawmakers be subjected to preliminary investigation as the evidence points to that course of action. That said, we acknowledge that the passage of time since the preparation of the report has overtaken certain aspects of these recommendations. This does not weaken the report. On the contrary, subsequent developments have reinforced our core findings. As of January this year, 4 key individuals who appeared before the Blue Ribbon Committee hearings were admitted to the Witness Protection Program. These witnesses include former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo, former District Engineer Henry Alcantara, former NCR Regional Director Gerard Opulencia, and contractor Sally Santos. The executive branch has ordered a comprehensive review of flood control programs nationwide, including the creation of interagency task forces, stricter validation protocols for infrastructure projects, and enhanced transparency measures in public works spending. The Office of the Ombudsman has filed multiple criminal cases before the Sandigan Bayan against former and incumbent public officials, contractors, and private individuals in connection with alleged anomalous flood control projects, particularly in Bulacan and Oriental Mindoro. The charges include violations of Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, as well as malversation of public funds through falsification of public documents under the revised penal code. Parallel investigations by the Department of Justice led to the creation of special panels of prosecutors tasked to handle at least 5 ghost flood control projects in Bulacan, with prosecutors recommending the filing of graft, malversation, perjury, and falsification charges, and after evaluating affidavits, audit findings, and sworn testimonies of engineers and whistleblowers. Several of these cases have already been submitted for resolution, while others remain under preliminary investigation. Proceedings are now underway before the Sandigan Bayan, which has begun issuing orders on preliminary matters. The NBI has conducted fact-finding operations and case build-up that led to the filing of complaints against respondents linked to the flood control scheme. The Anti-Money Laundering Council, Mr. President, complemented these efforts by initiating financial intelligence investigations. It has secured multiple freeze orders from the Court of Appeals, with over 21.8 billion pesos in assets frozen as of April 30, 2026, linked to irregularities in flood control projects. It has also preserved a total of 2.5 billion pesos worth of assets. Freeze orders have been issued against numerous individuals, including former Speaker Martin Romualdez, business associates, and corporations. Sa tagal na may report out, ang nangyayari na po ang mga rekomendasyon at findings ng komite. Now, Mr. President, ako naman ang dinidiin ng mga kritiko, taliwas sa paulit-ulit na naratibo na ayaw ko daw imbitahan si Congressman Romualdez. Uulitin ko po, formal na inimbitahan ng komite ang dating speaker. The committee extended invitations to Representative Romualdez and other members of the House of Representatives whose names were mentioned during the hearings through the office of the current speaker. In keeping with established interchamber courtesy, these invitations were declined, with the exception of Representatives Toby Chanco and Leandro Lebiste, who voluntarily appeared before the committee. It must be emphasized that no member of Congress has ever been subjected to a subpoena by either chamber. Such an act would risk undermining the balance and mutual respect that define bicameral relations. Suppose we follow such ludicrous suggestion made by one of our colleagues. Ang mangyayari po, si dating Speaker Romualdez ang magiging kauna-unahang kaso na sasalungat sa umiiral na interparliamentary courtesy. Ngayon, kung mayroon namang kapwa nating senador na iimbitahan o isusubpina sa pagdinig ng Kamara, halimbawa, may isyuhan ng imbitasyon o subpina ang ating kasama na si Senator Marcoleta ng House Committee on Justice if, hypothetically, mayroong investigasyon sa Kamara ukol sa kanyang di umano'y manumalyang Statement of Contributions and Expenditures or SOSE. Handa po ba ang liderato ng Senado at si Senator Marcoleta na baliwalain ang interparliamentary courtesy na umiiral mulat sa pool sa Kongreso? Maalala natin, noong 2024, inimbitahan ng Kamara si Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa sa pagdinig ng war on drugs. Gayunpaman, hindi siya dumalo sa payo na rin ng dating Senate President Chis Escudero bilang pagpapahalaga sa inter-chamber courtesy. That is why I always emphasize, Mr. President, that this is not merely a matter of practice. It is grounded in principle. In his separate opinion, in Francisco versus House of Representatives, GR number 160261, November 10, 2003, Justice Dante Tinga explained, and I quote, "While interchamber courtesy is not a principle which has attained the level of a statutory command, it enjoys a high degree of obeisance among the members of the legislature, ensuring, as it does, the smooth flow of the legislative process," unquote. In light of this, the continued observance of interchamber courtesy is not optional, Mr. President. It is essential to preserving the independence, integrity, and proper functioning of each chamber. May mga individual rin na pilit na nagpapakalat ng maling impormasyon na di umano'y pinipigilan naming pagsalitain si former Congressman Saldico. Nais ko pong linawin, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, na inimbitahan ng komite at inisyuhan pa nga ng show cause order at subpoena si Mr. Saldico. May nagmamagaling pa na dapat daw ay hayaan si Mr. Saldico na maglabas ng apostilled affidavit o lumahok sa pamamagitan ng Zoom meeting. Si Ginoong Saldico ay hindi nagpapadala ng anumang request sa komite para humiling na accommodation para sa isang virtual meeting mula sa loob ng Philippine Embassy. Sa katunayan, ako pa nga ang unang nagmungkahi na maaring pag-aralan ang posibilidad na magtungo siya sa embahada upang doon magsasipay sa pamamagitan ng Zoom habang under oath. Subalit, ang ating kasamahan mula sa minorya na si Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa ang mismong nagpaalaala at nagbabala laban sa hakbang na ito. This caution makes sense, Mr. President. Kung siya ay nagtestify sa loob ng Philippine Embassy at mapatunayang nagsisinungaling at ma-cite in contempt of the Blue Ribbon Committee, kaya ba siyang ipakulong o i-detain ng embahada sa loob mismo ng kanilang gusali? Dahil dito, Mr. President, ang tanging paraan lamang upang tanggapin ng komite ang mga pahayag ni Saldico ay ang pagbabalik niya sa Pilipinas at personal na pagdalo sa pagdinig. Nais ko ring tugunan ang mga kritiko ng ilang gumagamit ng issue ng 67 contractors bilang dahilan upang hindi pirmahan ang ating partial committee report. Liwanagin ko lang pumuli, hindi ko kailanman sinabing hawak ko ang listahan ng mga contractors na ito. To set the record straight, ang makailang ulit ko nang nabanggit ay ang impormasyong ibinahagi lamang ng isang congressman, walang detalye kung sino-sino. Kung mayroon mang may hawak ng impormasyon o kung kaya nilang tukuyin ang iba pang mga contractors na ito, katulad ng ginagawa ni Ombudsman Remulla, name them. If you have the evidence, present it. If you know the perpetrators, expose them. The committee will provide the platform for you. Our recommendations are, by design, recommendatory and conditioned on independent investigation. Kung mali ang aligasyon, the process clears them. Kung totoo, the process convicts. With due process and accountability, makukulong ang dapat makulong. Para klaro sa publiko, laman ng ating committee report ang menu ng mga posibleng kasong kriminal na pwedeng isampa. Depende sa ebidensya, ang mga prosecutors ang pipili ng nararapat na sakdal batay sa kanilang sariling pagsusuri at pagkilala sa mga ebidensyang naipasa na at ipapasa pa ng komite. Gayon din sa iba pang mga patunay na kanilang makakalap sa proseso ng case build-up o kaso ng DOJ o fact-finding at preliminary investigation naman kung sa ombudsman. Una, malversation sa ilalim ng Article 217 ng Revised Penal Code. Ang accountable officer ang pangunahing may sala o principal, ngunit ang mga kasabwat o co-conspirators kabilang ang mga non-custodian public officers at pribadong individual ay maaari ring managot para sa diversion of funds maging sa ghost at substandard flood control projects. 2. Direct bribery, bribe-giving or pagbibigay ng suhol at korupsyon sa ilalim ng Revised Penal Code Article 210. Ang siste ng quid pro quo sa flood control scam ay nasa anyo ng pagmamanyobra ng mga proyekto, pagpapadali ng mga award, pagpapabilis ng paglalabas ng pondo, pagpirma, natapos na umano ang proyekto o ang paggamit ng posisyon o pambigyan ng pabor ang mga kontraktor. Maaari ring ituring na sabwatan o conspiracy sa direct bribery. 3. Sa ilalim ng Section 3A ng Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act o RA 3019, maaaring makasuhan ang mga opisyal ng gobyerno na kasabwat sa flood control anomalies dahil sa panghihikayat, pag-uudyok o pag-impluensya sa isa pang opisyal ng pamahalaan na magsagawa ng gawaing labag sa tuntunin at regulasyon na may kaugnayan sa kanyang opisyal na tungkulin. Kabilang din ang pagpapahintulot sa sarili na mahikayat, maudyukan o maimpluwensyahan na gawin ang nasabing paglabag o pagkakasala. Sa ilalim ng Section 3B ng parehong batas, krimen ang paghingi o pagsusulisit ng kickbacks, porsyento, commissions, obligasyon at anumang forma ng benepisyo para sa sarili o para sa ibang tao na may kaugnayan sa anumang kontrata o transaksyon sa gobyerno. Sa pagdinig ng komite, malinaw itong nakita sa pamamagitan ng direktang ebidensya o sa mga circumstantial na katibayan, pati na rin sa nailantad na workflow at delivery ng mga kickbacks. 5. Section 3E ng RA 3019 ukol sa undue injury o unwarranted benefits. Nailatag din natin ang labis na pinsala sa pamahalaan dulot ng ghost at substandard projects, gayon din ang pagbibigay bentahe o pabor sa mga private parties tulad ng mga flood control contractors mula sa rigged biddings, favored suppliers at manipulasyon ng procurement services. Lahat ng mga nakibahagi na takers, negotiators, pati na mga tumatanggap ng royalties, padulas o sahod sa mga bidding ay kabilang dito. 6. Plunder sa ilalim ng Republic Act 7080. Gayong hindi tayo magbibigay hatol kung sapat na ba ang threshold para sa kaso. Tungkulin ng komite na ilantad ang paulit-ulit na sistema at ang malawakang saklaw ng katiwalayang ito na malinaw na hudyat ng pattern of predicate offenses sa ilalim ng RA 7080. Ang mga ebidensyang nakuha ay isusumite sa Anti-Money Laundering Council at verification upang mabusisi ng husto. 7. Money Laundering, RA 9160 at AMLAC Bank Inquiry, Freeze and Forfeiture. Batay sa nakalap na ebidensya, mariing nirekomenda ng komite ang referrals para sa AMLAC fact-finding, kabilang na ang bank deposit freeze order application sa Court of Appeals at ang pagsusuri sa mga bank account visa ng utos ng Court of Appeals. 8. Falsification, false identities, procurement documents falsification, ang paggamit ng mga fake IDs at pineking dokumento ay tinuturing na mga evidentiary links at gagamitin ng ang mga ito para masuri ang pinagmulan ng proceeds ng krimen, gayon din ang paraan ng pagkuha nito at ang mga rutang ginamit sa money laundering. 9. Ang perjury, false sworn statements, certifications, sa ilalim ng Revised Penal Code, Article 183, naman ay para sa pagpapatunay ng material, probable, or probable falsehoods. 10. Bid rigging, collusion, RA 10667, procurement reform, RA 12009. Ang sabwatan sa bidding ay tinuturing na procurement fraud at pinsala sa malayang kompetisyon. Pinupinterya ng Competition Act ang bid rigging dahil pinapalitan nito ang fair market competition at pinapaboran lamang sa mga kartel. 11. Ethics, conflict of interest sa ilalim ng RA 6713 at SALN at divestment. Ang conflict of interest ang nagsisilbing enabling layer ng katiwalian. Mahalagang masukol ang mga magkakasala sa ilalim ng batas na ito dahil ang isa sa mga dahilan ng pananatili at paglalim ng flood control scam. Mr. President, this report is a referral and reform package. Simple lang, imbestigahan ng legal, alamin kung ano nangyari, bawiin ang kaya pang bawiin at ayusin ang batas para hindi doble bayad ang Pilipino sa buwis at sa dilubyo ng baha. As we move forward, the committee will continue the work it has carefully begun in these hearings. In the resumption of our hearings, we will scrutinize matters that need further scrutiny. Una, mas malalim at mabusising imbestigasyon hinggil sa usapin ng allocables at leadership fund. Pagtuunan ng pansin ng komite ang mga opisyal na dokumentong ating nakalap mula sa DPWH. Kabilang dito ang mga sulat galing sa mga mababatas na maaaring pag-aralan para magpakita ng paper trail na nag-uugnay sa mga flood control projects. What you see here, Mr. President, are just random letters from our files. Magpapadala na rin pa rin po tayo ng formal na imbitasyon kay dating Speaker Romualdez sa pamamagitan ng kasalukuyang Speaker ng Kamara upang bigyan daan ang kanyang panig at paglilinaw hinggil sa mga aligasyong ibinabato laban sa kanya. If and when Saldico is returned to the Philippines, we are prepared to bring him together with his former staff, including former members of the military. This step will ensure that the committee's findings remain fair, balanced, and firmly grounded on facts and evidence. Mr. President, the road to full accountability is long, but we must start to agree somewhere. This chairman's report is a decisive step forward. We owe it to the witnesses who spoke up, to the experts who provided evidence, and most importantly, to the millions of Filipinos who find themselves neck deep in floodwaters every time a storm hits. We cannot let their efforts and ours go to waste, Mr. President. In the interest of orderly and more comprehensive discussions and productive deliberations, and to avoid redundant and repetitive clarificatory questions that may be posited by our colleagues, I reserve my right to address any and all interpellations after my sponsorship of the still pending partial committee report. Dalawa na lang po, 2 or 3 more. At pwede nang i-file sa Bills and Index Division ng Senado ang partial committee report. Until then, Mr. President, I am not yet yielding the floor. Thank you, Mr. President.